Second Trails Commission meeting to order. I have 6:03. Margarita, would you please do a roll call?
Yes. Commission Chair Marty Rosen.
Present.
Commission Vice Chair Bill Zimmerman.
Here.
Commissioner Ken Gaunt.
Here.
Commissioner Richard Croy. And Commissioner Tom Gidroy.
Here. Bill, you did it last time. Rick, would you please lead us?
Y'all join me in the pledge. Ready to begin.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is the agenda modified in any way?
No.
Okay, so we'll approve the agenda as is, and it brings us to the minutes of, well, we should do them separately, I guess. Are there any changes to the minutes of October 23? Hearing none, may I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept minutes of October 23.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And now the minutes of November 13. Are there any modifications?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's approved. There are no presentations. So, are there any public comments?
Yes. Marlene Starkey.
Come on up.
Hi, I'm not good a speaker.
We don't bite.
Neither. Yeah.
I do, so be careful. No. I'm just here, my concern is the Peterson Park Dog Park. And I live directly across from it. And with the new time change, I've been there for 18 years. And the last couple of years have just been atrocious. With the new time change, they're there at dawn. And I realize you go through all the things, and the park hours are dawn till dusk. But it also states on there that these people need to keep their dogs in control. And I mean,
Oh, please, just
sorry, I'm too short. There we go.
just pull it down. It'll come
Oh.
close. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. And so anyway, I live across the street, but the dogs are so out of control that it literally, I mean, they're there at 5:30, 6 o'clock at dawn, and their dogs are barking crazy, and especially when someone's walking around the park to do their morning walks or whatever, then that sends them into a tizzy. And I get woken up every weekend in the mornings. My husband works during the morning, he gets up at 5, so we hear them, but during the week, it's not as big of a matter as it is on the weekends. I'd like to sleep in, but it doesn't work that way. And now with the time changing, even at dusk I don't care about, but still, if that's the case, these hours are not being monitored of any sort. And so they're there after dark, as far as that. That I don't care about, but I don't like being woken up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning on the weekends with these dogs. It's just crazy. And then 2 of the homes that, sorry, I'm very nervous, are directly fenced by the dog park. Those 2 are vacant and have been vacant. I knew one of the owners of the home, and they left that home because of the dog park. Because the master bedroom butts right up to the dog park. And there was no way, they can't get sleep there. And these people, it's just totally out of control. And I've had a lot of surgeries this last year. It was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I guess. And I walked over there on a Saturday morning, and it was about 6:15, 6:30. And I asked them if they, I just got out of surgery, can they please keep their dogs quiet? And then she says, bitch, you're the one that needs to put a muzzle on. And I said, excuse me? And she said, you're the one that needs to keep quiet. There's no way to keep a dog quiet. And so I just like, so then it got into each other, you're a bitch. No, you're a bitch. No, you're a bitch. You know, and then it's like, wait a minute, I'm a homeowner. You don't even live around here. I know they're all coming from Sun City because these are the older folks or whatever. No offense. But they come there and use the dog park, but don't keep control of their dogs. And that's my biggest concern. So it's just way, way out of control. They do monitor, they do because I've complained so many times. I've called 911 on them, and they've come out, and then it got to the point where they said, it's not an emergency. And I go, I know that, but I can't get sleep with these people with their dogs. So I don't know how we can handle that situation, what needs to be done. From
Well,
what I
let's-
understand.
Let us look into it.
I was-
Are there any other people?
No.
No, okay. Rick?
Yeah, just a quick question for you. You're saying this is happening between 5:30 and 6?
Anywhere between 5:30 and 6:30 or so, 7 o'clock in the morning.
All right, now a question for Mr. Lee. Is that part of the noise ordinance? I mean, I know the planning commission is working on a noise ordinance. Would that come under those?
It could, although it's difficult to really measure the decibels that your dog puts out. However, there is, as Ms. Starkey mentions, there is an item within the code that specifies keeping the dogs under control, not a nuisance, which includes the barking. So there is a portion that already exists in code to address it. However, I've been in communication with Ms. Starkey. The issue, in a big part, is related to enforcement. You know, even if, as I understand her experience, having, you know, a deputy come out is typically after, you know, after the fact, and it becomes a priority issue. And so my discussions with her have been about prompting both commission and eventually the council to look at additional enforcement options. So there's a little bit more teeth, you know, for lack of.
And these people know it too, because when I mention it to them,
Yeah.
they said, there's nothing you can do. They don't
Well-
come till 8 o'clock,
Now,
you know, or
question for you.
something like that. So they know that, and then after 5 o'clock in the park, once it's 5 o'clock, they come and not necessarily even go to the dog park. All the dogs run loose off their leash and, you know, or whatever. And they don't clean up after their dogs and stuff like that. And I know I had an incident where a lady asked if the people sitting there at the bench could put their dogs on a leash till they got by, because her kid was afraid of dogs. And they said, put your kid on a leash. So, I mean, it's getting to that point that this is a little ridiculous. This is not just for dogs. And that's what they're assuming, that, you know, people can't come there and play with their kids or anything either.
Okay. Yes, Ken?
Mr. Chairman, I didn't hear when she first started which dog park you're talking about.
Pete Peterson.
Pete Peterson, thank you.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't have any code people that early.
Do we have animal control?
Not
That early?
I've called them, I've called police. By the time anybody gets there, they know. They have it all worked out, they know. It's like, it's getting so out of hand.
So code enforcement, you're correct, there are hours of operation, and when they'll have somebody in the field, it's not typically at that time, especially on the weekends. However, for animal control, they're essentially, they respond when called for an issue. So they don't make, you know, normal patrol rounds at parks or in particular neighborhoods unless they're checking for licensing or anything else like that.
If this
So-
happens every day, could we send somebody there at 5? When I say we, I mean, can you send somebody there at 5?
Currently, the department doesn't have personnel to do that. As you know, as the commission knows, the department's comprised of 3 people, and then we have our contractor who essentially does maintenance and operations, and the operations portion is, for the most part, recreation. It's not the type of thing that's being discussed this evening. So if we had them do it, it would be at an additional cost.
Okay, Tom?
I wonder if we could ask animal control to stagger their hours just because I'm hearing dogs are off a leash, and therefore be there at that point in time, and therefore ticket these people. That ought to drive the point home.
I agree, that would be a great idea, but I don't know if we can do it.
We can always ask. I don't know the details of the animal control contract to know that if we have the latitude, flexibility to do that. I'd have to check.
Would
Yeah,
you
because they
please?
have been ticketing
And
during
you
business
will
hours, but not.
Speak with Ms. Starkey?
Yes, we'll follow
And-
up.
And, okay, so they're going to
Yeah,
check.
we've been discussing it.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, I would suggest formalizing everything in writing, and it always helps to make the council aware, so come to a council meeting, because they're a higher pay
Wednesday.
grade than we are.
Oh, on
And talk
Wednesday.
to your
This
council.
Wednesday.
Okay. Yeah, I've been going back and forth with Gina and then Robert.
Okay.
The last few times, we've been emailing back and forth. And
I
so
know it's
he
frustrating.
suggested to go to the meetings.
I know it's frustrating, and I wish there was an anti-knucklehead clause, but there's not.
I know, exactly. So Wednesday is a better day then, or as far as?
City council meeting is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you need to explain this to the council, because they would have the ability, I mean, I would recommend to the council that they try to get somebody. But I think you should ask them as well,
Okay.
okay?
Is it every Wednesday then, or
No, it's every other.
every other Wednesday?
And
Okay.
Well,
there's
it's-
one
Yeah, it's
this coming Wednesday.
No, we just had
We
one.
just had one.
So the next
Yeah, I didn't
council
make it.
meeting will be December 3rd.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
December 3.
And a quick
Okay.
question for Robert, too. Is there some sort of signage that could be explored, be courteous to the neighborhood?
We can add an additional one below. It wouldn't be relative necessarily to a particular code, but we can post it right below the existing dog park rule sign, just so folks, which I believe there's one right there at the entrance leading up to the dog park.
Yeah.
So we can add that. That's pretty
Like
simple.
possibly maybe post it on the gate itself or
Uh-huh.
right along that area? where-
Yes, we can certainly look into that as well.
Conspicuous place, yeah.
Where they see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Okay.
wish you luck.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you. So
I do
December
too.
3rd then? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
There are no other public, excuse me, there are no other public comments.
No.
That brings us to item 7, discussion items. The Parks, Trails, Open Space, and Recreation Master Plan.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. If you will recall, at a prior meeting, there was a direction given to staff after results of the recommendation from the Commission to forward an approval of both Quimby and mitigation ordinances, which are pending at a future meeting. I believe we're going to be taking the first reading on the 3rd of December. A subsequent action related to that was to have council reconsider a park master plan study for the city of Menifee. In efforts to prepare for that, which will come at a further subsequent meeting to council, I thought it was important to bring back to the commission the results of the first RFP process for selecting a preferred vendor to complete the study, so that it could be vetted with the commission before council had a chance to look at it, and you all had a chance to weigh in. We did review this proposal, and to give you a little background, this was done in a formal bidding process. We had a total, I believe it was 7 firms submit bids. We did interviews, I believe, of the top 4, and then made a selection at the time for RJM Design Group. And in your packet, you'll see there's the breadth of their proposal includes references and plans that they completed for really neighboring agencies and those in other counties as well. They're very well-versed in the process. They're held in very high regard within the state for the work that they do. And the additional recommendation from commission during that meeting was to look at ways to modify and adjust the proposal, so that way when it comes back to council, there is some due diligence paid by staff and by the consultant to ensure we're getting the most bang for our buck, and it's a very directed and appropriate approach if they so choose to pursue it. So as a result, we looked closely at the proposal and the costs for what tasks were included therein. I've provided within your packet a summary of the task list with the price sheet to give you a breakdown. The grand total that council saw earlier was that $220,000, which included all the bells and whistles. And that was what we were recommending. Even to this day, staff still believes that that is a preferred route because it leaves no stone unturned. However, there are a couple of other options. As you see on the screen, and it's also in your booklet in case the font's a little too small, option B does provide a pretty comprehensive approach as well. What is modified in B is under Phase 3 public involvement process, we've removed the online questionnaire and are relying solely on the community-wide telephone survey. In my discussions with the vendor or with the potential contractor, this, in their experience, has served to be the most beneficial way and the most accurate way to get feedback from the community in addition to having town hall meetings. So they did not recommend, I should say, eliminating the phone survey. They found that has been the most accurate and provided the best data. However, the online piece certainly could be removed if needed. In addition, if we could certainly take the list of questions, staff could take the list of questions that are completed through the phone survey, and we could do our own online survey and then provide that data to the consultant to incorporate. We can do a Survey Monkey and then blast it out like we do all of our events and activities normally, and see what kind of response we get there. That is one way to save some money. And then moving further down under Phase 5, the recommendations and opportunities, this piece on Task 7 of Sustainable Practices and Maintenance and Operations Plan, that actually was in the original RFP, an optional piece we incorporated as a line item, standalone line item. This was to guide staff, whether it be me or if I win the lotto and someone else comes in, guide staff on really what kinds of mechanisms we should expect to use in design and development of parks and or retrofitting of existing park assets so that they can be maintained and sustainable into the foreseeable future. It essentially in the report is just a list of preferred, like best practices, preferred tasks, given the assets that we currently have and the landscape and topography that we have. So that is an option that can be removed if so desired. The recommendation, though, is that we for option B limit the reductions to that, because really the remainder of these are critical to the final outcome of the plan. I went through each one of these and tried to determine, all right, if we trim here, if we trim there, what do we lose? What do we lose? And the only other area that even is remotely possible in staff's opinion is down under reimbursables. Right now, there's a set budget of $20,600. As a reimbursable, it doesn't suggest that they get all of that. It suggests that they only receive payment for what actually they use, and that's obviously through our contract management, something we keep a close eye on in their progress billing. I will move over to option C. Staff is not recommending option C because there's a lot of pieces that can tend to compromise the outcome of the final report. As you see, I've listed Task 2 under Phase 1 at the top for the review of existing documents and city policy and standards review. If they were to not do that, they would be basing their initial recommendations just off of best practices in the industry, not off of what the city currently has or is doing. So they wouldn't be reviewing necessarily our park ordinances. They wouldn't be reviewing upcoming, or I should say, plans that have been submitted by developers. They'd just be basing it off of survey results and what they believe the community needs in particular areas, independent of housing tracts that are coming or planned to come in. Moving down, of course, there's the option here to not do the telephone survey, but do the online survey instead. Again, not recommended only because the accuracy of the telephone surveys better than the online piece, because as you know, many seniors do not have access to computers. And there are a lot of folks, senior or not, that are just simply not digitally literate, and they don't get on computers as often as we all do. And then continuing down, we did identify, obviously, again, the sustainable practices to remove, but also further down, reducing the budget for a screen draft, meaning the first draft of the plan for review by the commission. Our ability, the staff's ability, the commission's ability to provide feedback would be reduced in half. Basically, instead of a couple rounds of edits, we would maybe only get one round of edit there. And then, of course, the reimbursables was reduced as well. The pitfall of doing a reduction on the reimbursables, if we were to hit our budget amount, any need for reproduction reprographics thereafter, the city would have to come out of pocket to do or do in-house. So those are real risks. So as I was mentioning, staff's recommendation is to try and stick with option A, but if necessary, option B is certainly a viable path as well. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody? Rick?
Yes, couple of observations. First of all, I think with this kind of detail, it would have been much more sellable to the council to see this first go-round. I don't remember seeing that in the.
They had it. They had the whole packet, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Question for you, on phase 2, under community workshops, the difference between the A, B, and C, how many workshops is that suggesting?
Yeah, in total, I want to say, because each phase has a different number. I wanted to say it was like 12 or so. I don't have the count off the top of my head.
A rough number's fine.
Yeah. And they're with different stakeholder groups. So
Right.
there's a handful that are actually community-wide town hall style, and then there's the others that are, say, with the commission, with the youth advisory, with the
Okay.
senior advisory.
So that is included, the youth, I want to make sure that we get their input.
So when the RFP was drafted, we provided within that RFP a list of all of these committees and commissions that we have, and who all the stakeholders we felt were important in the process. So they reflected that in the proposal.
Yeah, because I think your youth advisory and senior advisory committee, they can compartmentalize a lot of the feedback from the community and basically cut down costs. So you don't have to, we all know if every person in the city of 65, 80,000 people right now, it's going to take forever to do this. I think with what we're talking about, we want to try to get this done pretty quickly in the most effective way. It is expensive, but I'm comfortable with the fact that, we have to have this in order to go further and to make sure that we have quality. That's all.
I got a question. Thank you. Director Lennox, I guess the question I'm wondering is, this proposal from RJM is for all of the parks in the entire city, is that correct?
It's for the entire territory of the city boundaries. So yes, it would also catalog and inventory HOA parks, valleywide parks, city parks, you name it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Seems like, I guess maybe I should just add, it seems as if, Valleywide really should be able to provide a lot of that early due diligence as far as data and numbers and the kinds of things that are in their first phases of getting prepared to start, so. But I appreciate that there are options, and like I had said at our last meeting, I believe that it would be wise to come, if we're gonna come back to the city for an approval, that we at least don't come back with the exact same thing, so this is good.
Anyone else? All right. my feeling is that the commission not choose A, B, or C, but that instead, we send all three of them to the city council. If we, at this point, I don't know how the city council is going to feel about spending $200,000 plus. If it comes down to the fact that they don't want to do it, then, because of budget, okay, I'm assuming that would be the only reason, then at least they have an option. But the options here, except for the third one, I don't know if cutting $18,000 is really a big deal when you have 200,000. How does everybody else feel? Yes, Tom?
The motion we made the last time we met was to point out to them that this plan is needed because of the Quimby Act that
And we
would
have
like
said
to have
that.
in there.
We have said that.
I think we
And
just-
I agree that that is necessary for the reason that our city council has indicated to us. I'm sure that they have seen the same letter from the city council.
I mean, from the city attorney.
I'm sorry. Yeah, well, city
Right.
council, right.
So by offering them this breakout and the options A, B, and C, we're reinforcing the point that we strongly believe this needs to be tagged on with those changes in ordinances.
Right, and that although it would be nice if they did the total package, if they really have some major objection because of budget, we're giving them other options.
Right, and it's important to remember that this is, there is budget money for it already, which they should be reminded of also. There's money in there, I think it's 800,000 that's sitting there.
Yeah,
Yes,
Robert.
yeah, in total, between the park diff and the trails diff, there is quite a bit of money. We only originally asked for an allocation, a partial allocation for this year to do park improvements. When we take this, we would first define what's left in our allocation for the current year, and part of the item would also include additional allocation from the fund balance if we need it. We can run the balance, but there's sufficient money within the fund balance to handle this project.
So the point is, it's money well spent, it's available, and it would keep them out of future legal entanglements with potential issues that could arise if this isn't there to back up the change in ordinances.
I agree,
We
but,
just have to get that point across, that's what I'm saying.
and I'm sure Robert will indicate that when he gives it to them. But how do you want to send this to them?
The city attorney will also be on hand. He's fully briefed. He understands that that the original memo came from his office, and he's prepared to express the importance to the council, along with my feedback, as well as Charles Leclerc's feedback. And I think that'll at least spur a good discussion and have some serious consideration. It is for the benefit of the council, and not to step on the chair's toes, if staff presents the three options, they will likely ask the question, what did the commission recommend? I don't personally have any issue in telling them they didn't have a recommendation. They wanted council to see all of these, but nonetheless, they will still ask the question.
Okay? If I remember, I think Rick was first, and then,
Go ahead. Sure? Oh.
yeah, Rick.
I'll just go out on a limb here and just say, in order to get there, we have to have a plan. If this is the best plan, then we need the best plan. I think staff has done a good job of pairing where they can. But I tend to see it that now that this is broken down and you can see it in black and white, it makes me more comfortable spending that kind of money knowing that it's already there. Yes, I would prefer that we could take that money and put it on a trail or put it on a park, But how are you gonna do that if you don't have a plan? Plan first, and then as development comes and, you know, things are happening, I think that this will reap benefits. And I'd be in favor of suggesting to the council that option A is our best option. And I'll leave it with
The
that.
only thing is, they've seen this when they turned it down the first time.
The new council.
Not really, one person. But yeah, okay. What about the rest of everybody?
I agree with Rick. Option A is the best option, and I think we ought to put it forward with that noted. I'd also like to suggest that when this is presented to council, if possible, we all ought to be at that meeting and available to them if they would like to ask anything of our chair or somebody else. To try and also reinforce the importance and the emphasis we feel that this needs.
Okay, well, I'm there anyway, but my only concern is that for the most part, they've seen this and turned it down. And the only real reason that we have for sending it back is not this so much as the advice from the council. Based on that, I think they should go with option A. But I don't know how they're going to feel about getting the same thing over again. Rick?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I don't think that's our concern. They're looking for us to make a recommendation, and that's it.
Well, then
They
why
will
don't,
make the final decision.
why don't we have a, why don't we have a motion to do whatever? Gentlemen, at your pleasure. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we present to the council a recommendation to adopt option A as the best policy,
Best
Not-
general plan.
best general plan, with the, I don't know how to state this, with the fact that we've studied this and we feel that it gives us the most.
The best approach to
the-
getting a general plan?
Yeah, the best approach to planning for the future.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I
Bill?
will. I'm most likely going to vote no, only because I believe that the option B or C would provide us basically the same thing, and we'd save a lot of money. So that would, but it sounds like I'm not in the majority here, so I'm just letting you know why if you hear a no vote.
Any other discussion?
Should we have an amended motion then? Would you want to amend the motion?
To do what?
To
Put
suggest
in 2 or 3?
that A is the best recommendation, however, we would also propose that B is acceptable, not C.
I don't know if that's a
You're
good way
looking
of
for our
putting it.
opinion.
I would suggest that we take a stand, whatever it be.
I think, and that's what we're being asked to do. The recommended action for us is to make a choice, a preferred scope, and recommend to the council, so. It's a majority thing then at this point.
Would Ken, do you want to change your motion?
It wasn't Ken, it
Oh,
was
I'm sorry,
Rick.
it's Rick.
No,
No, he wants to leave it the way it is. Robert?
Yeah, it could also be a motion or a substitute motion to set your first priority as option A, as preferred course of action, and second priority, option B, and so on. And that could be incorporated into the report that staff provides to council as the results of this meeting.
to me, that's fully reasonable.
Same here.
Are you prepared to modify your motion?
Absolutely.
And second?
Yes.
Is there any further discussion?
Can we hear the motion again?
The motion is to adopt option A as the preferred option here, and as a secondary option, have option B.
And I second.
All right, I have a feeling we need a vote. Margarita, call it.
Commission Chair Marty Rosen,
Yes.
Commission Vice Chair Bill Zimmerman,
No.
Commissioner Ken Gont,
Yes.
Commissioner Richard Croy,
Yes.
and Commissioner Tom Gilroyce.
Yes.
Okay.
I think before we take this next action item, I think I'm going to recuse myself as an incoming board member for MSJC. Should I leave?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you just see that that item gets tidied up?
Yes, I will take care of that.
Typo.
Okay. Brings us to item 7.2, and of course, Bill, being on the board, has recused himself. The recommendation to approve and forward to City Council a faculty lease agreement with MSJC for use of the Case in the Sarah Center West Annex Building for continuing education courses. Go to okay. If you look at the lease agreement, item 3A, the term of this lease shall commence on January 1. That should be 2015. That's a typo. I'm
That's
just
correct.
bringing everybody, up to date. That's the only change. It's just a typo. Okay? Now, with that, is there going to be Robert?
Sure, I'll provide just a
Please.
brief background. As you all know, the Case Cenicero campus became city ownership and property as of July 1st, 2014. Prior, it was owned by the County of Riverside, and they ran programming out of essentially all three buildings through their EDA department, Community Services Division. And the main senior center was the same operations that are there today, just different staff running. In the building to the west, there was EDA administration staff, so some of their field staff had offices there. And then in the building to the north, there was essentially, and I think the verbiage here is a little bit backwards, the west is not the facility in question, it's the north building that's in, I'm sorry, I take that back. It is correct. The west is the correct building that we're talking about. The north one is another annex building. Both straddle the senior center. We've been in discussions, staff's been in discussions with the college, who have been bursting at the seams, and we know that they're elated by the latest outcomes of their Measure AA ballot measure, which will allow them in the future to expand the campus and provide renovations to their existing facilities. But that all takes time. And they are proposing some programs that will assist with continuing adult education, vocational training, job readiness, and a unique program, which is their casino dealer training and certification course, is gaining a lot of popularity in the area, and they've run out of room, plain and simple. So they approached us and asked if we had some opportunities for them. The building that in question is currently vacant. It was intended to be in part the new headquarters for the Community Services Department upon its expansion. And with this lease, that still can happen in the future. This just provides a portion of the north end of that building as classroom space for the college to use if it is recommended for approval. It would have separate entrance from the north side. There's a secondary door, and they would be able to access that separate from the facilities, the rest of the facilities, whether there's city staff there or another group occupying the building. It would be secure and separated for their use. The terms of the lease, as the chair noted, their staff is aware of the typo and has made the change to the final agreement version. As well, the terms stipulate that the college is responsible for all utilities on a pro rata share, and which right now would suggest everything that happens there because no one else is currently in it. For the most part, that would be the limit. They would be required to only do those types of activities that are approved by the city, and that includes if they wanted to renovate any portion of it, they'd have to get city approval first. So there are quite a bit of controls in place within the lease agreement to ensure we know what's going on. And then we would, in the future, look to expand the adult class offerings with the college. Because the city's perspective is that they are an extension of what we provide, which is a resource to a growing community and trying to educate them and get them ready for the workforce. So staff's recommendation is to have the commission recommend to the council the execution of this lease agreement for the term of 1 year, and thereafter it can be reconsidered for renewal or not. That's my report.
I do have a question. Are students going to be paying tuition for the classes?
Yes, there is a tuition to be a part of it, but it is open to the public. So there is no, as a continuing education credit program, they do not have to be admitted to the college in order to enroll in the class. It is a
The
class
reason I'm
by
saying that
class.
is because you're only charging $1 a year, and yet the people are paying. Why isn't the city getting something more substantial than $1?
Well,
If it was a free course, I could understand it, but it isn't.
yeah, so part of the benefit is the college has committed to providing additional, I guess you could call residual benefit to the senior center as well. Through their casino dealer training course, they have several opportunities to test out the student's skill set and by hosting casino nights with obviously fake money, and they're willing to offer that to the senior center who has done casino nights on occasion. And this would be a nice tie-in to do that. They also have offered up other resources in supporting some of the activities in the senior center. So there is some residual benefit. This is somewhat of a good faith lease agreement. The college is looking to explore joint use opportunities moving forward. They do have the campus that's growing, and we understand that they won't be using it all the time, and they understand that they won't be using it all the time. And so the city could stand to benefit from that and extend the college campus uses to community uses. And so this is sort of a first step toward that direction.
Go ahead, Tom.
I see on the first page that the city's been talking to various community organizations. I was wondering what other groups have asked to possibly use those facilities?
None for this west facility. The ones that have asked and have met with us have been asking relative to the north facility on the other side of the senior center.
So there's no conflict as far as anybody else wanting to have access to that?
No, not at this time.
Okay. And I also, Marty, agree, $1 seems awfully generous. I would like to see something a little bit more than that to show, even though there'll be some goodwill generated and there'll be people probably shopping in town because they'll be taking classes there. If we couldn't see something more than that, even if it's a sort of a stipend just to show goodwill towards the city.
As we've inquired with the college, the structure of their continuing education classes are at 100% cost recovery, which suggests that they don't run it for the purposes of profit. They see it as a community service, so they don't make money off of it. In other words, my only concern is that if we were to return back to them with a request for some additional rent, they may opt to not do it because it may be unaffordable for them, as they have to pay instructors and insurances and things. But due diligence, just to disclose that.
Yeah. I think that
We should try it 1 year.
1 year is great.
Yeah.
I think 1 year is good. I would like to see additional classes be offered. My son went to a JC and got his AP certificate through a JC instead of a very expensive trade school. That's the direction I'd like to see some of these facilities be geared to. Casino training, well, that's all great, but I'd like to see something solid, more career-driven in the future. But I think giving them a 1 year test period is great, and if we can encourage it to move some more meaningful career opportunity type training, I think whatever we could do to encourage that would be great.
It makes sense. A vacant workspace like that ought to be utilized in one form or another, and to give it to the college as an opportunity is a great idea.
Sure.
I have a question concerning the sports facilities at the college. Are there any?
Currently, it's very limited, but the expansion through Measure AA includes a pretty dramatic increase of facilities. If I'm not mistaken, a track and a gymnasium with a rec center and all kinds of stuff. They've got a lot
The
planned.
reason I'm asking is joint use works both ways.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions? Can I have a motion?
Move for approval as recommended.
Second? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Margarita, go ahead. This is a lease agreement, so we should do it formally.
Commission Chair Marty Rosen,
Yes.
Commissioner Ken Gaunt,
Yes.
Commissioner Richard Croy,
Yes.
and Commissioner Tom Gilroy.
Yes.
Okay, that's been approved. And we shall just wait for Commissioner Zimmerman to retake his seat. And then we will, thank you, and then we will continue. Item number 8, Community Services Director comments.
Only one. I don't know that any of you were at the council meeting yesterday, but I'll repeat the same announcement that we have the holiday tree lighting, Christmas tree lighting event coming up on December 5th. And if I can see if Margarita is able to punch up it should be on the desktop, the flyer for the event. If you haven't seen it yet, this is quite a change from, thank you very much. Oh. If you want to go to full screen there, down at the bottom, or actually it's at the very top, I'm sorry. Yeah, that one probably, and then view, there you go, perfect. Quite a lineup of activities. If you may recall in prior years, the tree lighting event had been here at City Hall on the nice Charlie Brown version out front. So this is quite an upgrade. Luckily, we've had a good partnership so far with Regent Properties. They are gracious enough to grant us access to the site prior to the city even accepting the right-of-way. And so that includes tree lighting of the roundabout great oak tree. And currently, they're busy taking care of all the landscaping along the parkways and the roundabout itself, so it'll all be nice and pretty. And we'll have various activities. The kids' snow play zone is kind of a new addition. In the past, there was snow here at City Hall, but it wasn't structured play. So now we're going to have some slopes for kids to do sledding on, as well as, little ones can play just on the surface. And obviously photos with Santa, the ceremonial lighting, live entertainment with some community groups. It should be a lot of fun. And this is one of the first events where the city is partnered with multitude of community groups to get it done. Where in the past it may have just been the city and one partner or the city alone. We're trying a new approach to event planning, and so this is our first go at it. So it is December 5th, starts at 4:30. Says 7:30 end, but we know that kids love Santa, so it may run longer. So we'd love to see folks there, and a lot of volunteers are involved in decorating and helping in each of the areas of the activity. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Commissioner comments. Bill?
Thank you. I just wanted to thank our staff for the nice field trip we did last week. That was very informative and got a lot of great ideas. I'd never really seen such expanses of synthetic turf and some of the things like that, and so it's good stuff for us to at least understand and know what's entailed and the difference in cost between natural grass and all of that. So thank you for putting that together. I also noticed that a future agenda item is Southern California Edison, so I wanted to thank you for reaching out to Mr. Hicks. And do you know if we've nailed down a date for that?
Yeah, he will be available for the next meeting.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
And our next meeting is?
Is rescheduled as a special meeting on December 18th, I believe it is. Same time, same bat time.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all.
Is that it? Anybody else? All right. I would like to put on the agenda for the next time the expanding of the commission to twice a month. And I would suggest that this get to the city council in January, if, at one of the meetings in January. I don't know how busy any of those are, so, but at least one of them, okay? If that's not possible, I would ask our director to please contact me, because I will be away the first part of February, okay? Is there anything else? We also need to talk about the docents program. And the reason I'm saying that is, remember the problem we were having here with, I'm sorry, but I don't remember her name, Starkey, yeah. If we could have a docent in there, that might help. Of course, 5 o'clock in the morning, is a bit early, but maybe it would help. I have no idea. But the sooner we can start that, it's going to take a while. So it's going to take a while to recruit, it's going to take a while to train them, and as Robert indicates, he's only got 3 people, including himself. So that's going to be difficult. Is it fair to assume that the commission could look at the possibility of requesting additional help? Or is that beyond our scope? You understand what I'm saying, the looking into the possibility of requesting that under the circumstances and with the amount of work that has to be done, that we might want to recommend to the city council that they consider the possibility of hiring another person.
I would suggest that when the item regarding the docents program for parks is brought before this commission at the next meeting, part of the discussion includes some options that could be docents as one, park ranger staff as one, maybe a regular program staff alternatively, or hired security. I mean, those are all things that should be, it can be discussed when that item is brought before you, and the recommendation that comes from it will go to council.
Excellent. Okay. Any other? Not hearing any, then I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
And a second?
Second?
We are adjourned.